Hi, it's Joanna. Welcome to Nanny's Country Treasures. Today, we are going to be doing the last of the winter projects that I have to do. Sad to say, but all good things must come to an end, right? Now, let's get crafty. Okay, first we're going to take this little plaque or picture, whatever, from the Dollar Tree, and then one of the cards that I've had forever that I've struggled to get rid of because I like the picture so much. So I'm going to do something with it. I'm just going to take the back off of this, and it is just stuck by sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape. You know what I mean. And that came off really easy and didn't rip, and I was excited about that. Now I'm just going to take my silhouette scraper for the sake of not losing my fingernails and pry these little prongs up and then take everything apart. And if I get a little growly or my voice sounds a little funny, I'm not possessed, y'all. I live in Tennessee and the weather is crazy, and it was literally the day before yesterday 70 something degrees and you could go out in short sleeves, and then the next day, which was yesterday, it came a snow, and it's just got my sinuses all tore up, y'all. But anyway, as you've seen, I dumped all that orange junk out because I don't want that. Then now I'm taking my silhouette scraper and trying to remove these little, it's like styrofoam or foam core. When you put them together, you get styroforms. So that's what we're taking out of here, you know. We make up our own thing. Anyway, now, I'm going to have a struggle. I'm taking this staple remover and carefully removing my staples, and it looks harder than what it is, trust me. It was just me having a moment. But anyway, that silhouette scraper is worth buying, not for a silhouette, but for just crafting with. I love that thing. Now I'm going to take acetone. I bought this at the Dollar Tree, and I am going to rub until I get this off. I don't want to scrape it because I don't want to scratch my glass. Okay, now it's all off, and I am just going to take my frame and I'm going to paint it with chalk paint. Now I'm going to take my glass and I'm going to lay it on here, and I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm just going to trace around it with a pencil, and that will show me where to cut it, and then I'll cut it out with a pair of scissors. That's pretty simple and easy. And now, boom, it's cut out. Gotta love it. Okay, now I'm just going to take glue, and I'm going to glue this glass back in there. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to add some fake snow in there, and I don't want it to come out, and I want to make sure everything is secure. So I just use a little bead of glue. Now I'm going to take these little styrofoam doohickeys and put a thin line of glue. This glue gun is extremely hot and it will melt these. So I just use the finest little line of glue, and I'm going to just tack them back where they came from. Now I'm just going to place my picture face down, but before I do that, I forgot that I had to add my little fake snow. And I keep this in a Parmesan cheese container. You know the Parmesan cheese you put on spaghetti? Well, they work well for holding your faux snow or whatever else you want to put in them. I was going to put the back on, but then I thought I need a hanger. So I'm just going to take a piece of ribbon after I take this back off, and I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon that matches the front to use as the hanger, and I'm just going to tack it down, and then I am going to put my back on, and that way it won't look all tacky by just being stuck on the back, and it makes it more secure as well. Now I'm just going to put double-sided tape that I got at the Dollar Tree around the frame, and then I am going to attach my paper back on the back, and it looks all finished, and the back is done. Now, this is what it looks like so far. And I'm going to take these little snowflakes that I got from, I'm pretty sure, Hobby Lobby. And I am just going to make sure that the inside is pushed down. They're paper things. And then I'm going to glue them onto the sides and This is what it looks like. I meant corners. And this is what it looks like. So I've got this snowflake. I'm pretty sure I got it at Dollar General. I've got this paper that I printed myself just from a image on that I Googled. And then the sign from the Dollar Tree. And I was going to paint it white, but I ended up painting the outside black. I want the inside plain because I'm going to glue the paper in there. But I'm going to measure the inside to cut my paper, and I won't remember where it's at. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper tape, and I am going to place the tape around the ruler where I need to mark it to cut my paper. So I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to mark, and I'm not using the white line. I'm going to avoid the white line, so I'm going to where the color part is, and I'm going to mark my markings. And then I am going to use a paper trimmer to cut this out. And this is just a paper trimmer from Hobby Lobby. You can get them at any craft store, even Walmart. But I just want to make sure that I cut straight. So that's the reason for using the paper trimmer. I use these paper trimmers quite a bit in my crafting because they come in handy and they cut straighter than I ever could. So then when I get done cutting my square, I'm going to cut the white edges off to make sure that they're not showing inside my box. Now it's cut out, and I'm just going to take an, I believe this is Elmer's. Yeah, it's Elmer's. It's a permanent, it's repositional until it sticks, and then it's permanent glue stick, and I'm going to glue all around, except it does not reach around the edges. I tried to get it to work, but it just wouldn't. So I'm going to take a small tipped liquid glue, and I found this at the Dollar Tree actually, and I'm just going to put a line of glue, and then I'm going to take a small paintbrush, and I am going to smooth out that glue so that it's not blobbing around the edges, and then I'm just going to carefully place my paper in. And then I am going to take a squeegee from the Dollar Tree. It is actually for vinyl, but it works. And I'm glad this is repositional because I got it in crooked. So I have to take it out. You'll see me taking it out, and then I reposition it and get it back in. And I got it right this time. But anyways, then I'm going to take my squeegee and I'm going to just make sure there's no bubbles or anything like that. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, win-win. It's all in. Now I'm just going to take my super glue for a permanent hold. And because this is metal, and I want to make sure that it sticks. But make sure when you're gluing that you do not glue on one of them, because you have to have something to hold on to. And then I'm going to take my hot glue, providing it comes out. I was having a little trouble right here. I don't know. It eventually starts coming out. But anyways, I'm just going to take the hot glue and put that right dead center in the middle. And then I'm going to place this snowflake in the middle, Lord willing. And it's going to come out right. I know it is. I have faith, y'all. And it's in there, and then I'm just going to take my silhouette scraper and push down and make sure that all the glue is stuck. Now I'm just going to take a piece of thin red ribbon, and I'm going to make a small bow, just tying a little bow, and then I'm going to glue it to the top of my star just to give it a little, something. It looks a little plain, and that is it for this one. Now this next one, I'm going to use one of these tags from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to untie this. It just untied, y'all. It was simple. And then I'm going to use one of these little die cuts from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use a piece of paper from Hobby Lobby. First, I try to sand this glitter off. And I then used my scraper and scraped the rest of the glitter off. Glitter's off as best as I could get it, and I am just going to place this down, and I'm going to trace around it, but I'm not going to be exact because I don't like cutting my paper to fit anything. I would rather use sandpaper when it's all glued down to cut my edges off. you'll see me do it in a minute, but it makes it look so much cleaner and more finished. So I'm going to take my glue stick. This broke my heart, y'all. I am just using and it fell apart. This is my last bit of this glue stick that I love so much. I'm going to have to get on Amazon and order some more, and I'll have a link to these. These are the best glue sticks ever. I've had nothing come apart. So once the glue is applied and I'm done whining over my glue stick, I place my paper down, and then I'm going to take my Silhouette or Cricut, whatever, scraper, and push any excess glue out, so there's no lumps and bumps and all that stuff, and get it all smoothed out, and then I'll set it to the side to dry. Then I'm going to take one of these laser cuts, and I'm going to get my wax, and my preferred method is to use a baby wipe. That way you don't have to put it on and then take it off. It wastes wax that way. That's just my opinion and how I do it. And this makes the perfect shade for me that I like by just putting it on a baby wipe and then rubbing it on. And then, you know, like I said, there's no wiping back off and wasting. And anyway, you see. So now that that's on, I am going to place it on there eventually like that. Now I have one of the snowmen from the Dollar Tree that came in a pack, and I don't want the nose. So I'm going to take very sharp scissors and snip that off. I'm not going to throw it away because I'm going to use it. I'm going to sand it down and smooth it out a little bit where it came off. Then I'm going to take my wax and darken that because it's a laser cut and it has dark edges. Now I'm going to take spackling. You can get this anywhere, but this came from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to fill my hole in because I don't want that there. And then I am going to lay that out to dry. Now I'm going to come in with my sanding block. I get these at the Dollar Tree. And I am going to go down in a downward motion, moving forward. And this is how I cut the edge of my paper off. Now I'm going to use my pink pokey tool to poke out my hole. Now I'm going to give my snowman a little coat of paint, and this is just white acrylic paint from Walmart. Once he's painted, I'm just going to take one of these furniture markers, and I am just going to color in his hat, black. Now I'm just going to take a orange Sharpie and paint his nose. Told y'all not to throw this away. I'm going to place it on his face. I'm going to use just a Sharpie marker to draw a little face on my snowman. And once my face is on, I am just going to take and hot glue my nose back to his little face. And he is a cutie patootie. Now I'm going to take this piece of blue ribbon, and I'm going to make a little scarf by just tying it around his neck and tying a knot on the side, or a makeshift. I'll just loop it over, you'll see. Well, this doesn't stick, so I end up flopping it another way, but you see what I'm doing to get it down there. I have this little pack of little brown buttons that I bought at Walmart. I've had them for 100 years, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just going to take these and take the little, I don't know why they put this stupid little metal band in there that's so hard to get out. But anyways, I'm going to get the little metal thing out of the middle, and then I'm just going to take my tweezers and hold it. And then I'm going to glue these down. And this first one was a mess. I had glue everywhere. But the second one went on a whole lot easier. So they're on. And now I am just going to take a piece of red ribbon. I'm going to tack it in the back, and I'm going to run it around the front and then tack it back in the back again. And this is just going to be a band around his little hat. And now it is time to assemble this little thing. So I am going to set it on here, but I ended up gluing the snowman on first. That way I knew you know, that he would fit on there. So I just take hot glue and tack him down. Then when I had him down there, I wanted to add some little pink cheeks. So I just take a Sharpie, a light pink Sharpie, and just draw little circle cheeks on him. And then I'm just going to take hot glue and tack the Let It Snow down. I thought it would be cute to let the snowflake pop out just a little bit. So I just took one of these white metallic markers from the Dollar Tree. And again, this is another thing from the Dollar Tree that I absolutely love, is these markers. And I'm just going to go over the snowflake just to add a little color. Now I'm just going to take a piece of jute and I am going to put some hot glue on it. And I do lick my fingers so I don't get burnt, just so you know. And because when your fingers are wet, you won't get burnt. But anyways, I just put the hot glue and twist it, and then it's easier to shove through the hole that way. And I'm almost done, but before I call it quits, I want to take that little white metallic marker from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add some detail to his hat by making it look like snow has fell on his hat, and this just makes the whole thing look better in my opinion. And I think it is the cutest little tag ever. Now I'm going to use this Dollar Tree sign and these Dollar Tree skates, and I am going to take the string off of here carefully. I want to attach it back, but right now I'm taking it off, and I'm going to paint this. Well, I was going to paint it red and I didn't want it to show, so I ended up painting it black. But when I painted this black, it made it wet. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, it made it wet. So when it was all black, which you're going to see right here, when I was doing something to it, it started peeling. I put the red paint on, and then it started peeling, and I realized I'm just going to take the whole stinking paper off. So while the paint on the sled is drying, I'm going to take my little skates, and of course I'm going to take my tag off. And I'm not worried about, well, I wasn't worried about taking these off, but I ended up taking them off in the end, and you'll see what I done there. But I was going to leave them on. It really doesn't matter because we're going to put something over here. But I am just going to give these a coat of white paint. The only thing I'm not going to paint is the bottom of the skate and the bottom of the shoe. Otherwise, it's all going to be a coat of white paint. And when you get to the snowflakes, you have to take your paintbrush and smush it down in there, because otherwise you'll have wood showing and gaps. And you know, if you want it that way, that's fine, but I didn't. So I just took my paintbrush and I smashed it down in there to make sure that everything got painted. And there you see me doing that right there. But I am carefully just going to paint the skate part and leave the bottom of the shoe and the metal of the skate plain. Once they are painted and dry, I am going to take a black paint marker, and I'm just going to carefully paint the bottom of the skate, the bottom of the shoe part, and the heel of the shoe. And you could use the furniture marker from the Dollar Tree that I was using earlier if you wanted to. But I just had this paint marker sitting down there, and that's what I used. And this is what they look like now. And I'm going to take the silver paint marker that I got from the Dollar Tree. And surprisingly, it done very well. And I'm going to color my skates in. And I was going to color the holes, but I stopped because I'm going to do something else. So I'm going to take puff paint. And I'm going to take this, it's pearlized iridescent, or whatever you want to call it, puff paint. And I am going to take this puff paint, and I am going to do all of my circles. This stuff is nice because if you mess up like I just did, you can wipe it right off. But I'm going to do all my circles, and then I'm going to go around and over top of the snowflakes on each skate, just to give them a little something, you know, to make them look better. And you really can't see on camera the effect of the puff paint. But when you look at these, like for real, look at these. It is so cute and three-dimensional. Okay, now my little sled is done and it looks like this. And I'm just going to take these stickers from Walmart. I could have used a cutout decal from my Silhouette or my little Cricut Joy, but I just had these and I wanted to use them. And so that's what I did. So I'm just going to take my stickers and space them out here. And I probably moved them 3 or 4 times trying to get it to look, you know, even when I got my phrase on there. But I'm not going to make y'all suffer through watching me do all that. But I do apply my stickers with tweezers. It makes it a lot easier. Alrighty, so now it's on there. Baby, it's cold. I'm just going to take brown wax, well, I thought I was, and just, you know, make it look like it had lines or whatnot in it and not so plain or whatever. But the wax didn't really show up. So I ended up taking my dark brown, just regular acrylic paint. And I am going to kind of dry brush that on in places, you know, and just make it look like, I don't know, make it look like it has some kind of lines to it or whatever. But anyway, I ended up using red to go over this because it just looked kind of dirty and I didn't really want that look. So I went back over it with red, dry brushing on it, and brought some of the red color back out. But anyways, I got it where I wanted it eventually by playing around with it, and you'll see it in just a second. So now it's pretty good, and I'm just going to take matte Mod Podge and go over these letters. And the reason I'm doing that is because I pulled them up 2 or 3 times trying to get them the way I wanted them, and I just want to make sure that they stay down. So I'm just going to give it a coat of matte Mod Podge, and it looks really weird when you put this stuff on, but it all dries clear and you can't even tell that there is Mod Podge on there. And now my Mod Podge is dry, so I'm just going to take my skates, and they are dry. You want to make sure that these are dry because that puff paint it takes a while to dry, and it will move, and it feels kind of rubbery when it's dry, but that's cool. That's the way it is. So now I'm going to take, and I told you I was going to take this off and trade it out. So I just want white. I thought that the jute was too, I don't know, kind of rustic more than I wanted it to look. These are not rustic skates. They're really pretty. So I didn't want the rustic jute on there. Now if you want to do that, you are welcome to, but I just used white ribbon, and the focal point of this whole sled is the skates, and you know, that's what I wanted anyway. And I just took my marker, as you seen there, and put my apostrophe because it was bugging the crud out of me that apostrophe wasn't in there. So I just added one with paint. But anyways, I was trying to figure out how to get these on, and the only thing that I could think to do was I just took, and I didn't want to put a hook on it, so I just simply, well, it wasn't simple, but I slipped the skate through the hole of the sled and then ran the string around it. And it looks like this, and I don't want the string to cover up the wording, but I do want them to look like they are hung over the sled. So this to me is fine. If you want to, you can tack your string behind it or however you want to do it. And I'm just going to take hot glue, and I'm going to glue my skates down so that they do not move. And then when I get them the way I want them, I'm going to make a big mess, y'all. Watch this. I want this feathers. You can use fake fur or whatever, but I wanted to use these feathers, and this was a mess. I had feathers flying everywhere. I tried to pinch them off, as you've seen, and, you know, get them off of there, and put them in the trash. But my feathers wasn't even, and one looked more bushy than the other, and I don't know. It was really weird. So I ended up, when I glued this one right here on, I had to end up pulling it back off and putting another piece on because it looked a little raggedy, and, you know, I don't know. I just didn't like it. So I pulled it off, and then I trimmed these. You have to be careful if you do trim, because I didn't want to trim my ribbon there and make, you know, me have to do that all over again. So I just trimmed my feathers, and y'all, feathers are flying. Feathers are flying everywhere. I have to go vacuum my room. There's still feathers in there. Okay, so I thought I was done and was going to leave it like this, but it looked a little plain. So I took a ruler and a pencil and just drew lines to give it a little more definition and character. Okay, this last one has to be the most simple DIY ever. I am going to take these two things, and I'm going to take these squares, and I'm going to make them circles. I just take my CropADile and punch a hole in it, and then I take sharp scissors and cut around and make a circle. But the brown things down there are things that you use to lay incense on. I got them at the Dollar Tree a year or so ago, and I found them in my stash and thought, hey, these look like skis to me. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And so I've got those, and I've got two little of the shish kebab skewers that would probably catch fire if you ever try to use them for what they were intended for. So they're laying there. So anyways, once I cut it, it's rough. So I'm taking the sandpaper, and I was trying to do it, but I realized an emery board or a fingernail file would have worked a whole lot better. So I'm just sanding it until I get it in a round shape, because you need these to go on the end of the little skewers. And I got them as round as I could. See them down there? Now I've got my little skewers. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast because this is a long video. So you don't want them as long as your skis. So I am just going to take my miter shears, and I'm going to cut them down some. And I was able to cut both of these at the same time, so that saved a little time. And then once I get them cut, I am going to take some wax and just put it on my wipe, and then I'm going to wipe my little sticks down. So the little sticks didn't take the stain very well, but that's okay. So I'm going to take this silver metallic marker from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to color my little round circles front, back, all around, everywhere. Then I'm going to add my little wood circles that I made to the bottom. This one didn't hold very well. It was loose, so I am going to take glue, and I'm going to tack them with a little bit of wood glue, and then set them aside to dry. While they're drying, I'm going to crisscross these, and I realized one was shorter than the other, so I crisscross them to where they look the most even. Then when I get them the most even looking, I flip it over, and I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to mark where I want them to go, because I have to glue these together, and I want to make sure I get them right. So I'm going to use a combination of wood glue for permanent hold and hot glue to stick it quick. Now that they're glued together, I want to get rid of those holes, and I'm going to use just a little bit of wood filler. This is not spackling, it is wood filler. I prefer it over the spackling, but anyways, I'm just going to fill in the holes and rub it off. And then when it dries in a quick minute, I am going to take some of the paint, and I am going to put it on the wipe, and I am just going to give it a swipe of paint to blend it all in. I am going to take a little bit of jute, and I'm using the thin one from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue it on, and I'm going to start wrapping it around and then tack it when I get to the end to make little handles on my ski things. I don't know what they are. I know they belong to skis, but I don't know what they're called. But you know, you see what I'm doing. You know what I mean. So I'm just adding my handles on my ski poles. I'm going to call them ski poles. So I have the handles on the poles, but I lost footage of me gluing all this together. And I just glued my poles down, and then I found a rustic snowflake in my stash and glued it down. And then I put my jute on the top to hang it up, and it's done. And here are my projects all finished, and I adore each and every one of them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any content. It would help me out and help my channel to grow. See you in the next one, and remember, you are a blessing.